This is the sound of Qubit Pulsar clocks. Lots of clocks actually. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 clocks plus a master clock to control lots of other units in your eurorack modular system. I was interested in this unit because it does Euclidean rhythms, and I was quite interested in exploring Euclidean rhythms, and it does that brilliantly. But I've ended up using this unit a lot more than I ever thought I would do, and it has become quite central to a lot of things that I do in my work and the way that it's triggering lots of other modules that I've got in my system. So it has become quite central to the way that I work actually, and I love it for that. And by the way, Qubit have not given me this unit. They're not sponsoring me to do a review, by the way. I'm just showing this for those that are interested in people who are looking at a clock-based system to drive other modules in their system, and hopefully it's useful and helpful, and I think it's a really great system for doing that. Okay, let me just take you through very basics. Okay, so first of all we have a mode button, and there are 4 main modes that we can get this to work in. Now it's very basic, and I'll show the first mode that I'm going to use this in at the moment. Now at the moment I've set this to be a snare sound, but this could be many other things which we'll talk about later on. But at the moment, as you can see, I'm just moving the dial here, and you can see the LED just moves around. I have 16, what I'll call 16 beats or pulses that I can choose here. So if I want to put a snare sound here, I just click in that as well. This dial is clickable as well, and I've got my snare sound on that pulse. Okay, so if I move my dial around here, I can add in having another snare by that. So as I say, this is the most basic, simplest way that this unit will work, and these can be bursts that these can be clocks that I can send out to other things as well, but just for now I'm using it as a trigger. It's just going in here, okay, on the Erica Synths picker drums. Okay, that's all great, okay, and that's all good. Now the next mode is the one that I love, and is visually such a great way of creating rhythms. This is the Euclidean rhythm mode. Okay, now again I'm using this dial. So Euclidean rhythms, as far as I can work out, okay, they're just using divisions of time, and this one starts off with its very first division of time, which gives me 1 beat or 1 pulse. Okay, move the dial and it's going to give me 2. So it tries to work out the divisions as equally as it can as it goes along. If I now choose 3 pulses, it's tried to divide them up around the 16 beats as much as it can. Do the next one. This gives me a straight 4. And as I go on, this adds 5. And you start to create some really great rhythms. So this has got 6. You kind of get the idea, and as I move up you get some that's all 16, and it'll just go around. Okay, now what you can do once if I've set up, let me just set, quite like that one. Now at the moment I've got this whole Euclidean rhythm starting, and it's starting at beat 1. Now if I click and hold in this dial in the middle, I can shift those round, so they've shifted round 1 beat. And again, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, but click and hold it and it shifts the whole rhythm round. So I can move this dial and it moves all those rhythms round. Okay, so far this one I got using channel number 2. If I now select, let me just put this here. If I select now, and I have a channel select button here, which dials to my 4 different channels, and they're all different colours. So at the moment I've got channel number 1 is always going to be a blue colour. Channel number 2 is this purplyish. Channel number 3 is my green colour. Channel number 4 is red. And that is always the case. So go back to number 1. So this is channel number 1 now, okay, and they can all set them up with their own different Euclidean rhythms, because I've got this in Euclidean rhythm mode as well. So if I turn this channel on, I now have a bass drum that's joined my snare that I put in. And again, I've got 4 beats. This has just got 4 to the floor. That's quite nice. Okay, so I'll mute that and I press channel and absorb. And that'll just mute that channel, go to that, mute that channel. Channel number 3 I've got set up for hi-hats. Okay, so again, if I wanted 16s, there's some hi-hats going. If I wanted more interesting rhythms, again, I could do that. That's all good. Okay, let me just go back to clock number 1. Add in my bass drum. Clock number 2. Add in my snares. Okay, so you got the idea. Okay, now if this is on my snare channel, okay, and I want to add in a quick sort of fill, I can go. I can just give it a quick burst of it. Very quickly go back to my bass drum if I wanted 4 on the floor again. Okay, now if I go back to mode number 1 on my snare, okay, which is just inputting 1 beat now, I can add it into this Euclidean rhythm. So if I move the dial around here, I can add. If I don't like it, I can click and hold it and it'll take it out. Okay, there are other modes in here which are quite nice to give you just different rhythms going on. Okay, this is mode number 4 and this is random. So I just move the dial and it'll just add in. So it can give you some really quite nice snare fills, and if I dial it back, it'll give me less randoms. So at the moment it's just putting 1 random beat. If I move the dial up, it just adds in more random, and every time these randoms are going to be different because it's random. Okay, it also has a master clock out which is just sending, I think, 16ths out, and at the moment I've got this sending the clock into my sequencers down here, and I've got this is just setting off my mutable instruments elements. So it's got a little riff going along here, okay? So this will now sync, and this will now change the tempo of that. I can click the channel and this dial here, and it'll speed up, slow down, all the clocks all at the same time. Now what is quite smart about this now, let me just take that one out. Okay, what is quite smart is that you can unlock each channel from the master clock inside. So if, for example, I can do what I just did, alright, but say I want the bass drum to stay where it is, I can just click this button and it unlocks it from its own internal clock. Okay, so here's the internal clock that it's sending out at the moment, but I've unlocked it from it. So as I speed up, so all the other clocks are all speeding up, slowing down with the master clock now that I'm doing, but that bass drum is staying where it is. back in sync, just click it again and it puts it back into sync with its own internal clock. That's really great for create, so each clock can be unlocked. Okay, let me take that out. What I can also do though, the sequencer can also be triggered from, and I'm going to use clock number 4. And clock number 4 is here in red, okay? So again, I can create clocks on here, but it's not going to send out straight pulses, it's going to send out let me just mute these drums a minute so we can see what's going on. So as I move these along, this will send out different clocks. So if you have a sequencer and you don't want just straight 16s going on all the time, then I can get this to... And it starts to add sort of musical impulses into something you might already have. So if I add in my bass drum, as opposed to the straight, one shot, and it's just shifting the sequence along just 2 every time, because that's what it's sending out. That is the clocks. Okay, there is a different mode. There is mode number 3 in here, and this is from Qubit's manual. Okay, mode number 3 is binary. Okay, and this is a burst creation from the binary representation of an unsigned 16-bit value. Yeah, as far as I can make out, it's almost fairly random. So if I go to number 3, okay, and I move this dial, it's just going to add in different sort of values. If I put this onto this binary mode, it's every time I'm moving this dial, it's doing fairly random things as far as I can tell. So I quite like it. It's fine as long as you accept it for what it is. Okay, at the moment it's cycling around all its 16 beats at the moment, but if I can use this dial and I can, if I just want 15, then it'll just cycle around 15 of them. Go on to 8. If I just want 4. That's just 1. But what is clever, if I keep the dial going, it'll start reversing it. So the clocks will go anti-clockwise. So the bursts can either go clockwise, or if I can go that way, they will go anti-clockwise, and the clocks will go the other way as well. So you can have clocks going forward, backwards for 1 to 16 beats. Because it is Pulsar and it's supposed to be galactic clocks for your eurorack, as they say, okay, then what you can have, you can press, there's a magic gravity button, okay, and what it does, you can see what it does now. It's like gravitational pull on your sound, if you send that to your sequencer. So if I go to my channel number 4, which I'm using also as a clock for that, so let me get some... I've got that. Let me press the gravity button on this and it'll... Let's see what happens if I add in my bass drum onto that. I'll go to my Euclidean rhythms. Just adding in 4 to the floor. I did there, absorb button, what the absorb does, it puts all the clocks back in sync. So if actually you're finding they've all gone slightly out of sync and you want them all to start on pulse number 1, press the absorb button and it will bring them all back and all the clocks will start again from pulse number 1. This was my hi-hat pattern. Now, this is just using a very standard sort of 16 beats that are going on here in a very regimented fashion. Now, however, if I want those to become, so if I want that clock now to start going at twice the speed or 3 times, or if I wanted to go half the speed, each clock can be set to either take twice as long to go around as the other clocks. So this is my hi-hat, and you see the speed that it's going around at the moment. I go back to my bass drum, that's what bass drum clock is doing. That's what snare clock is doing. And it's quite nice if you want to put in sort of random, so if I go back to my snare a minute, so if you want that fill in, and these clocks will go very, very fast if you want them to do that. And of course the mode and the absorb buttons and these can all be CV'd as well, which is what the top row are doing, and you can control how much as well they're going to control as well from the CV. This is what the dials are here for the CV inputs.